The teens of St. Mark's are always worth listening to. Last week, a senior in high school got me thinking, and thinking hard. It was just before the 10 o'clock service last Sunday, and Abby, one of my acolytes, said, "Well, it's a new year. Is your sermon going to be about that?" And I said, "Not really." And she said, "Oh, I was kind of in the mood for something for the new year." Well, I had already written my sermon, of course. It was the one about the wise men from the east following the star and how we are on that same journey. But my friend Abby got me thinking. She made a really good point, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And here's what I would say. The bonus is that it even fits today's story from Luke's Gospel. As we just heard, Jesus submitted to baptism in the Jordan River. John the Baptist dunked him all the way under the water, and as Jesus came up out of the water, he heard a voice from heaven say, "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." Now, no one knows for sure why Jesus got baptized, but maybe the best answer is that he was baptized so that he could be one of us completely. He got baptized like us, so that we could be like him. As the classical theologians wrote, God became human so that humans could become divine. Jesus wants us to be God's kids. So I want to answer what my acolyte asked me last Sunday. What would I say at the start of a new year? I would say, we are God's kids, and that makes all the difference. My wife, who is also my best friend, has said to me, kindness is never wasted. You can't put a price tag on compassion. My daughter once asked, if you were you, what would you do? And that's a question worth thinking about in a new year or at any time. So it seems to me that if we are God's kids in 2016, we will be all about kindness. So this year I hope to be more kind than I was last year. I want to be all about kindness. I want to bring the compassion. That's the responsibility that goes with being God's kid. But it's only half of what I want to say to my friend. The other half is the joy part. Now, some of you might be like me. You might be a little driven to get everything right. You might have some guilt about not being perfect, or even not being fairly excellent most of the time. But imagine what Jesus must have felt when he heard God say, "With you, I am well pleased." That has to feel pretty good, right? I mean, if you're God's kid, you know that everything ultimately is going to be okay, even if things can get kind of dark in the meantime. Jesus, like all of us, walked through the valley of the shadow of death. But the story ends with Easter. After the darkness comes the light. After death comes resurrection. So, I am going to remember another message from my daughter. She once said, "Lighten up, God boy." And I need to do that too. Yes, I am God boy. I am one of God's kids. And that means I have a responsibility to live in a way that honors God. And I will not do it perfectly. That is for sure. But the fact that I will not do it perfectly should not rob me of joy. So this year, one of my resolutions is that I'm going to lighten up. I'm going to find the fun. I'm going to grab the grace. I'm going to bank the blessings. We are God's kids, and that makes all the difference. Turns out that my daughter's words continue to be kind of like God's voice in my head. "If you were you, what would you do?" she asked. Well, if I am a child of God, I'm going to act with kindness and compassion wherever I find myself. And she said, "Lighten up, God boy." And that means if I'm a child of God, I am going to look for joy. So if it's not too late on January 10th, that is what I would offer as we start a new year together. God said it to Jesus, and because of Jesus, God says it to us. You are my child, the beloved. With you, I am well pleased. So let's act like this is for real. We are God's kids, and that makes all the difference. Not a bad way to live in 2016 or in any other year. Amen.